I heard about it the first time when I was maybe 5 years old. My father mentioned me. I'm from Finland, and he's from northern Finland, and he mentioned there was this professional wrestling team from England or from US coming. They was called Catch, something like that. He couldn't pronounce the name, but that was the first time I heard the name Catch Wrestling. But really, I got into it, the history and the techniques and everything, about 8 years ago. I've been doing martial arts since I was 6 years old, and I've always liked to research the history and the philosophy and all that. And I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu about 12 years ago, and I started researching the real history of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then when I was doing that, I ran into catch wrestling. The catch wrestlers were the biggest rivalry against the Japanese Jiu-Jitsu and Judo guys in the beginning of 1900s. And then I guess my specialty is the history of the Finnish professional wrestlers, the ones that moved from Finland to US and Canada around 1900s, like Väinö Ketonen and Kallio and Armas Laitinen. I got this book from 1924, so this is what I do. I collect the old catch wrestling books and old jiu-jitsu books, and I compare them and everything. Well, the easiest way for me, when somebody asks me what is catch wrestling, I say it's wrestling where you win with pin or submission. So that's like the easy and fast way to go. What is catch wrestling? But of course, like everything, catch wrestling evolved from at the beginning, like 1700s. I guess catch wrestling was more of a stand-up wrestling style, and then in middle of 1900s, it got more ground wrestling into it and started using more twists, painful twists and everything. And then when the Japanese came with their judo and jiu-jitsu, the catch wrestlers kind of adapted some of their moves and came up with their own submission holds. But the idea in the beginning was to pin the guy. Was it a painful move or not painful move? But anyway, to pin the guy. But you might be using, for example, some kind of neck crank to put the guy on his back. And so that's why we got that. For example, neck cranks are okay, like if the guy won't turn or you don't let him turn on his back, he can submit. But let's say some people then might ask and have asked me, okay, you can do neck cranks, but you can't do chokes or strangles. What's the point in that? And I see that choke is not any kind of lever. How do you say? I guess lever, like that you can put the guy on his back, like double wrist locks, neck cranks, toe holds. All of those are levers, but choke, it wasn't justifiable move back in the day. So yeah, I guess there were matches around 1920 or so when you could use chokes. But the norm and the rule was that no chokes, no strangles allowed. But all the other, locks and turns and moves were allowed to pin your guy or make him submit. Let me first say that I love both of the styles, so I'm not trying to say which one is better. Their own great sports in their own right. But to compare Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and catch wrestling, well, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, of course, there's no pin, and in catch wrestling, pin is one way to win the match. So that's definitely changes the dynamics of the game. it's not, I would say catch wrestling is a lot more dynamic in the sense that it's all the time you're able to reverse and do a counter move and counter to a counter, since you are on all fours while you're on the mat. You can't go on your back, you can't pull guard, any kind of a guard, because if your shoulders are pinned to the ground, then the match is over. So that's the pinning element is one major difference. And then of course in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, mostly or many Jiu-Jitsu schools and Jiu-Jitsu guys are training just with the gi, and catch wrestling is without a gi. So that's the second major difference. That of course when you have the gi, the uniform, it's more of a pulling. It's just a different feel to wrestling if it's with the judo or jiu-jitsu gi, or if it's wrestling without a gi. So pinning and the uniform are the major things. And of course in catch wrestling the norm is no chokes, and in jiu-jitsu chokes are very popular, and in catch wrestling it's very typical to go for toe holds or the type of foot locks. And I guess in jiu-jitsu, at least what I've noticed here in the States, in two places that I've trained, people don't really want to train and fight with the leg locks. So maybe that would be the third. Leg locks are popular in catch can wrestling, and chokes are popular in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Finnish people, they were really good at wrestling, I guess, probably since ages they've been good at it. But Greco-Roman wrestling, or French wrestling like the name was before, it came to Finland about 1896, and Finns became really good at Greco-Roman wrestling and win many Olympics. Let's say the Stockholm Olympics 1912, and the next one 1920 and 1924. The Finns were really the powerhouse of wrestling, at least in Greco-Roman wrestling. So anyway, but also at the time, Finland was a poor country, and we had a civil war 1917, 1918, and around that time many workers at least, and the more poor people, which many wrestlers were, moved away from Finland to United States and Canada. And many of them were like Finnish champions or Olympic champions, wrestlers, of course Greco wrestlers, but anyway wrestlers. And they moved to States and Canada and started or kept on wrestling there. But since in North America the style Greco-Roman wrestling wasn't that popular, it was catch-as-catch-can wrestling, so they adapted their game to catch-as-catch-can wrestling. And one of the main guys, or probably the brightest star of Finnish catch wrestlers, was Väinö Ketonen, or Vaino Ketonen, as it is many times pronounced here in the States. He was the number one. He was a brilliant wrestler. He won the Finnish championships 1910 or 1911. Yeah, it was 1910. And then he moved to United States, started doing catch wrestling, professional wrestling here. Then he moved to United Kingdom and went to Wigan, where he won the middleweight championship from, I think it was Jack Carl or Joe Carl, either one of the brothers. And he was the number one catch wrestler in middleweights, number one professional wrestler in middleweights from 1910 till about 1930. He traveled all around U.S. in every state, winning and competing. And even the thing that interests me, because I've been in Wigan training under Roy Wood, who is the student of late Billy Riley, I mean. Billy Robinson was also a student of Billy Riley. But Väinö Ketonen while he was living in Wigan, was a mentor for Billy Riley. And when I went to Wigan and I mentioned about Ketonen, Roy Wood remembered Riley talking very highly of Väinö Ketonen. I'm sure Ketonen showed some wrestling moves to Riley. So when I'm learning from Roy, sometimes I think I'm learning something from this Finnish catch wrestler Väinö Ketonen.